Welcome to Mind Yourself, a podcast sharing real life stories from real people, alongside conversations about mental health and emotional well-being. Listener discretion is advised, as this episode may include themes some listeners may find distressing. Wherever you're joining us from, whether you're walking, driving, or taking a quiet moment for yourself, you're very welcome here. Let's get started.
So we welcome two very special guests to the Four Swans Mind Yourself podcast today. We have Dr. Anne Pennie, who is a former heroin addict turned neuroscientist, and his sister Anne Pennie, who is a student psychotherapist here with us at Four Swans. Guys, you're very welcome. For anybody who is not familiar with you both, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
No,
Will I go first?
Yeah,
I'll go
ahead.
first. So, as you said, Antonia, I was a heroin addict for many years, 15 years to be precise, and people do think my story is one of addiction, but it's really, that was a symptom of an underlying problem, which was trauma, mental health challenges, anxiety specifically, and basically, I just really struggled with being comfortable in my own body as a kid. I struggled with anxiety. There was anxiety within the family. There was alcohol issues with my mum and dad as well. That sort of drove that, and I was always just looking for a way to escape that pain. That's what I've retrospectively realised. So I started dabbling in smaller drugs, and then found heroin at 16 years of age, and it just felt like I found a solution to all my problems. And started taking heroin. Start chronically taking heroin on a daily basis at the age of 20 to 35 years of age, and just struggled in that way for many years. But I was very lucky to have a shift in perspective through a near-death experience when I was 35 years of age, and we'll probably delve into a little bit of that. It's really hard to put into words what happened. I think it was a spiritual shift, a perspective shift, and I just found this new lease for life, this lust for life. And I went on a journey to study the human mind, to study my own mindset, and that sort of culminated in developing programs to help other people. And ultimately it's about finding peace in my own life, finding connection in my own life. And I think as a family we've really grown close together in the latter years.
So during this period, Brian, you were living in the family home for most part of it, were you?
For most of that, yeah. So up until I was about 29 years of age, we're in the family home, and then there was an incident in the family home to do with my addiction. We don't know for definite, but likely it looked like it was to do with my addiction, where the cars were pushed up against the house and set ablaze, so the house nearly went on fire. So soon after that, me and my two brothers got a house. My mum got us the house, to be quite honest, and we did move out. But most of the time, all of this happened within the family home. Yeah.
And Dan, you're his little sister. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'm the youngest of four, so it's three older brothers.
And what's the age difference between you guys?
8 years.
8 years, yeah.
So you were quite young then when Brian's was in the height of his addiction, were you?
Yeah, I would have been
Yeah.
teenage kind of years, yeah. So
And what was that like for you?
It was tough in kind of looking up to like older brothers and really wanting to kind of like be with them and kind of see what's going on, or once we're kind of hanging around. And then obviously then that dynamic is being quite a lot younger as well, and I would have remembered friends coming around to the house, like he's one of his pals was going out with a girl at the time, and I really looked up to her because it was like there was no kind of younger women in the house as well, so there was definitely a really looked up to them at that time as a teenager. So we were good friends.
We're great friends.
Yeah.
And I looked out for Anne as well. Like I remember that, and Anne had said I really looked out for her. And like there was an element, like my mum and dad, like they were amazing people, amazing parents. We knew we were loved, but they had their own challenges as well. And I suppose I was if not a father figure, but it'd be a supportive figure in your life.
Definitely.
And then when I got deep into addiction, that was taken away. So I suppose you probably lost me to that extent as well throughout the addiction.
Yeah, definitely. Like there was a sense of loss, and it was a very gradual, and then the kind of the roles reversed and quite near the end, and then I actually stepped away from Brian for God, it could have been nearly 2 years, you know, but Brian was very unaware that I wasn't, you know, in contact with
Kept
him.
on showing up.
Yeah, you know, I was like, kind of stay away. We just, you know, just like that complete unawareness that, you know, that there was a big problem here.
Yeah.
You know, it was when I met my now husband, he kind of brought that to life for me. It was kind of like, this is not okay, you know.
And Brian, can you take us back to the height of your addiction and describe to us what life looked like at that time?
I always go back to my addiction. That there's when I wrote my book, I remember there was this chapter that I called it "When Two Worlds Collide," and I think that's where the height of addiction really kicked in, because I held down a job for most of my addiction. I drove a car. I went on holidays. Even though I was a heroin addict, I was a registered addict in a clinic, but I kept it together to an extent. I was a functional addict to an extent, so I was living an external life of just looking okay, the mask of that, and then this internal life of being chronically addicted to addiction and chronically in pain emotionally and physically in pain as well through the challenges of that. But those worlds just basically collided, and I wasn't very much aware of it at the time, but everyone knew how much of a bad spot I was in. My friends knew, my family obviously knew, the job found out. And it was just this grind. I call it like Groundhog Day. Like literally every moment of my life was spent what looks like chasing drugs, but was avoiding the pain. So I would wake up in the morning probably at 7 o'clock, even though I was in work at 7 o'clock. I'd do some drugs to take the edge off. If I had anything there, I'd take me methadone. I'd go to work. Sometimes how I drove into work half cut and managed to get in, I don't know. And then I'd be in the workplace. Ironically, I worked as a graphic artist and designing pharmaceutical labels, and methadone and anti-anxiety medication were some of the labels I designed, which was an ironic part of the journey. But I'd be just in the job, just rattling and shaking, just trying to get through the day. And then finally I'd usually be off at 3 o'clock, and I'd have loads of tablets in my pocket. I'd go back to the clinic, or I'd go back to the chemist, take me methadone, get a couple of bags of heroin, and just go into oblivion for the night. Like I just wanted to escape the reality of my life. And it was just this relentless grind of waking up, feeling the pain, waiting for that work to go so I could take that pain away. And it was interesting because my work funded the bills that paid for the drugs. Like I sold drugs as well, but in the end, no drug dealers would even give me drugs to sell. The job was falling apart. Everything was falling apart and going through my hands. And the drugs weren't even working anymore. I was just constantly in pain. And it's just Groundhog Day of this relentless grind of escaping the pain and taking the drugs that weren't working anymore. That's really what I remember.
And Brian, was there a particular moment when you realised that enough was enough and that you had to get help, or was it a build-up over time?
No, the catalyst for me changing was actually like, it's very difficult to get into a person in addiction, to get into their mindset. And I think what you do is, like, you can't really live with your reality, so you forge this weave of lies. Like I often say, I think human beings in general are really great at self-deception. Like we're very easy to deceive ourselves. But I think people in addiction are black belts because you can't live with your reality. So you tell yourself these lies and you believe it. There's cognitive dissonance, there's rationalization, justification. And I just believed my own lies. And I fundamentally had this belief system that I could not live in the world without drugs, and I couldn't leave my job. That was funding it. I just felt stuck. And then I remember my family and Anne and my mum were saying, look, just take time out, go to treatment. But I just couldn't see it. I didn't think it was possible. But it was when I lost my job. I actually got sacked, lost my job. Didn't get sacked, pretty much was getting sacked because I fell asleep at a meeting to save my job. It was crazy. And I remember I was going to lose the job, so I says, right, I'm going to have to go to treatment. But in my mind, I was going into treatment so I could come back and do drugs smarter and better. That's what I fundamentally believed, because I didn't think I could live in a world without drugs. But it was when I had that near-death experience, that seizure where I thought it was brain damaged, it just shook me to the core. I was mentally, emotionally and spiritually broken. It shattered me. And I had this moment in the hospital where I thought I was brain damaged. And I remember just thinking, I can't do this anymore. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because all of the fight was gone. And what I tried to say to people is I stopped, for the first time in my life, I stopped resisting reality. I stopped fighting anxiety, stopped fighting with my own mind, and it was a moment of acceptance, a moment of surrender. And that's what, just something shifted on the inside. And I just knew I'd never do drugs again. I just knew 100%. It was like the light bulb came on. Like, there's this difference between knowledge and awareness. Like, most people in addiction, they know. They have the knowledge that drugs are not good for you, but they're not aware. And it was like when the lights came on, I was like, what have I been doing? And that was the moment that just everything changed.
And Anne, what sort of a role did your family play in Brian's recovery then, particularly yourself as his sister?
Yeah, so those early days then was really difficult, like, you know, because he was really unwell, like really unwell. Like we there was times where we thought we'd lost him a few times. So we all kind of rallied as a family to mind each other, and then to mind Brian as well. Like and
just to cut in there, when you say really unwell, I was completely unaware of this, and I was having this spiritual shift. So I was very unwell, but sort of nearly very well at the same time in terms of the recovery. I was like high on life. But after so many years of addiction, it looked like that fella is mad. Like the example of me going home for the first time to my mum and looking at the washing machine and just saying, that's an amazing washing machine. Like I was fascinated. It was like I was looking at the world through new eyes. I was fascinated by everything. I was fascinated by strawberries. There's a strawberry story. Scarves and just these crazy things.
What's the strawberry story?
So Brian, like, so I've been in therapy since I've been 19 years old. So because of Brian, you know, other things, but you know, because of Brian, I won't solely blame you, but you were a part of it. So, you know, and I was like kind of listening to meditations, and I was, you know, talking to him about, you know, giving you CDs at the time, because that's how long ago it was, giving you CDs and about chakras and, you know, kind of different stuff and what I was learning in therapy. And so Brian then went to treatment and got well, but came out kind of a little bit unhinged, like, you know, a little bit
obsessed with spiritual text, but in a very unhinged way.
Yeah, and really like kind of was like telling me then this is how to live your life, like, you know. So it was quite manic. Would that be? Well, I think it felt manic to us, but probably wasn't to you.
If I could go back to any moment in my life, I would go back to that time. So I think I had a very clear spiritual clarity. I think I was seeing the world very clearly. I wasn't thinking, there was something shifting inside of me. I was seeing the world through new eyes. And I feel, when I think back, I felt I had answers to something that I haven't got access to anymore. But I hadn't got the language to, and I hadn't got the relationship, social IQ. Or the social intelligence. So I just couldn't communicate it, and it just came across really manic because I was so happy and wanted to share this information, but I didn't know that other people sort of had a little bit of this information. So I was just trying to overshare everything, like this enthusiasm of a 4-year-old trying to share the wisdom of the world that you probably didn't have.
There was something though, like, because it was this thing with the strawberries then was like, you know, he was carrying around boxes of strawberries, like in your Jack Bauer bag. So this, you know, 24 was big at the time. So he was like this Jack Bauer bag, and he's whipping out strawberries all the time. He's like, have you ever tasted a strawberry? And we're like, yeah.
But have you ever really tasted a strawberry?
And like this would be going on, and we're like just trying to get, like, we're kind of mentally trying to hold ourselves together, bracing for impact of relapse. And, you know, like really we're all hanging on by the edge. And then this fella's at you about strawberries, like, like, oh my God. Like, completely unaware of what was, you know, what had everybody else had gone through, you know, like through Brian's treatment and Asherie, it was very difficult because you knew you were well, you knew you weren't going to do drugs again, and you were really having a great time. But I was like working full time in Dublin Zoo. I was off every second weekend, so the weekends I was off, I was driving down, and then I'd have Wednesdays off to drive down for like concerned person days, and like I'd done a lot of the interaction down there because my parents found it quite difficult, like especially my mum. Like, she did really try, but she
couldn't talk,
she couldn't speak. She was so upset, like the shame and the guilt of it was really intense for her, so that was quite difficult. So like I was like working and I was like living my life, and you know there was all this going on, and he was being minded down here, so there was a lot of like resentment and anger, and
there's definitely an element of selfishness and self-centeredness attached to recovery, isn't there? At what point did you realise that you had an impact on the people around you? Or
God, it took a while. It's funny, I don't know whether I was self-centered and that brought me to addiction, or addiction made me self-centered. It could have been a combination of both. But when I think of like addiction, my pain, I need drugs to heal my pain now, and that's all that mattered for such a long time. So it's a very self-centered sport, addiction. And I think when you come into recovery, they even tell you that you need the recovery is the most important thing. Everything recovery's before everything else, before anyone else. Now that's more of a fellowship model and the language they use. I think I'm right in saying that I didn't go down that route. I went down the more spiritual route, but I went down a very selfish spiritual route. Was the wrong way. I was nearly just so high on the joys of life that I hadn't experienced for so long, and it was even like I thought I was going to get out of treatment. Like it's going to be a parade for Brian. He's out. No one even knew I was in. I didn't even have any friends anymore. Like, you know, but nothing fazed me, and I wanted to learn about the human mind and the human brain. I was going back to college, and that's all I was doing. But what I didn't recognize, and it took me a couple of years to recognize, that my family and my mum and dad, my brothers, they were the foundations of everything about my recovery. But because I knew the love and the care and the support would be so unconditional, I nearly just didn't think of it as that big a thing, where I've grown to realise that's the most important thing. I would have been lost without them. Absolutely lost. So it did take a couple of years. I got out in 2013, and I think it was 2019. I think it was 6 years later before I fully felt the it was so over time. There was bonds.
He was writing the book as well.
Writing the book had a big,
because it was kind of like interviewing us in a way, but like not as formally as that, but asking us about our experiences, and kind of we were putting the timelines together, because like some of the timelines you weren't aware of, and you know, it was like, but when did these things happen? And it was kind of then you were able to see it literally in black and white, and we're like, whoa, that was like for everybody else that was a lot.
And I was trying to intellectually feel the connection and feel the pain and feel the bond and try to make everything right again. But it was an intellectual level of what you were supposed to do. Now I'd say the last 3 years, would you say, I just feel we're just so close. All of us together, we're so close. So close. Like the bonds are just amazing. We don't intellectually have each other's back. We just I really feel it. We just really have each other's back. So something shifted with us all in the last couple of years, I think.
Was it difficult to trust this recovery at the time, Anne, though, after all that the family had been through? Did you believe that recovery was possible for Brian?
God, no. Like not in the beginning. Like, you know, like I was like when, I don't know if you remember, if anybody that's listening had seen the Helix show, and this is only a few years ago.
A year and a half ago. And for me, like, I know it was quite a big moment for you, but like for me, this sensation and panic that set in was like when I forgot my lines. When you forgot your lines on stage. Sorry, just for context, of course, And it's on the documentary, so I literally just 1,000 people in the audience. I went blank on stage, and I had to walk off stage. And this for me was like, oh, this is it. This is the wheels coming off. Like this is it. And I was so panicked, and I went backstage, which was not helpful to you. You were like, no, I'm fine. And I was like, I was backstage like, that was mad. I better go back out. Like I was fine. I was breathing, and I went back out, and Aaron and little nephew came back. I was so triggered by it. Like I didn't realize then. I was like, oh wow, there's definitely still something there. Like that was, like it was so. Like, not that I was all the time white knuckling up to that point, but it was definitely something in that moment that I felt like, wow, this was kind of something that I was a little bit braced for, because it was really unnerving. Like even you're going back to college, like, you know, it was like, okay, he has college now to focus on. It was like, okay, now his granny's doing a master's. Like I think it could have been like into your PhD before, and I think it could have even been when you met Natalie. That I was like, okay, you know, nearly here, take him. You know, where I could mentally like not think about or be like he was completely happy and oblivious, and you know, it's, you know, which was good, but it's there was definitely a long impact, and I'm like a mother of 2 boys as well, so like there was the concerns of my own kids and kind of thinking, you know, for them as well, like, you know, going forward. And even mum and dad, like if they, like me dad, sometimes I get knee issues, and I'd be taking the Cataflam, And if you ask me, have you got a few cat to flam? And like, that's like taking a paracetamol. You can't get addicted to this. Like, it's like taking a drug for your leg, for muscle pain. Like, it's not an addictive drug. And I hear Dad saying, oh, well, you watch them things now. Now, I think he's just saying it as a cliche. I don't think he really thinks too deeply about these things. But I suppose there's an element of, like, you can never fully trust it. I don't think you ever can.
Yeah, because I would have thought I would have up until that
moment,
point in the helix, and I was like it was that kind of like, I felt like the wheels were coming off.
Yeah.
But then when I went back and you were okay, I was like, oh no, he's fine. But there was just something about that particular moment that it was quite huge.
It was a big public challenge for me.
Yeah.
In the moment. Turns out to be my favourite speaking moment of all time.
Yeah.
Because the energy and the love and the connection in the room was off the
You got a
charts.
standing ovation, didn't you, when you come back
For
on stage?
the vulnerability and the mistake and the flaw, and there was a magic energy in the room that night.
Yeah. The kindness it was lovely. Like, yeah, it was lovely to witness. But yeah, like it's definitely something that families to go through, to be concerned for somebody who they have gone through the treatment process and to be on the other side of it. Like, there is definitely a brace for impact.
Hypervigilance.
Yeah, yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah, yeah.
Time is the metric really to build the trust.
And Brian, you have some interesting thoughts on the difference between being in recovery and being recovered. Can you explain that distinction?
Yeah, and I think this fundamentally will describe why I don't think anyone should really have to worry about myself. And like, I'm not saying I'm bulletproof, like, because from a thought experiment perspective, right, let's say World War III happened, my family died, I lost an arm, I was stressed, I was in pain, I was broken, and someone gave me a bag of heroin. But you know what? I might do that bag of heroin in that moment. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, my world would be in a certain way where you could create a scenario where that would be appetizing in a way. But for me, like, I call myself recovered because I have no want, no need, no desire for any drug, any alcohol. Like, I could honestly, if someone told me you have to do heroin once a week, every Friday, and we won't kill your family. Not only would I not want to do the heroin, I wouldn't have a problem if I did do it. It wouldn't pull me back, but I wouldn't want to do it. It would actually be aversive, because I took drugs to numb the anxiety and the pain I was feeling. It was serving a purpose. I wasn't taking drugs for drugs' sake. I didn't want to be an addict. It was serving a purpose. But I've completely changed my relationship with anxiety. And I always come back to what's important in my life. What are my values? And I have many values, but my 3 core values are my relationships, my health, and I often say energy, but there's an element of inner peace and energy that go hand in hand. But that's what's important to me. So if I was going to get drunk or do drugs, it's not good for my health. It's not good for my energy or my inner peace. And it wouldn't be good for my relationship. So it's actually aversive. It goes against the grain of what's actually important in my life. So to say I'm in recovery, like, that's why I'm not. Like, fellowship is brilliant for some people, AA and NA and stuff like that, Alcoholics Anonymous. But you have to go into them rooms and say, I'm Brian, I'm an alcoholic, I'm Brian, and I'm an addict. No, I was Brian that struggled mentally and emotionally, and I took drugs to escape that pain, but I don't struggle anymore. So I've no need for drugs. So I'm not that label, I'm not that tag. So I fundamentally believe I am recovered on the basis of that.
Brian, you did something pretty incredible, which is not just recover from heroin addiction, but you went on then to become a doctor of neuroscience. What does neuroscience teach us about why people become addicted and their ability to heal from addiction?
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I'd like to say something that on the back of what we spoke about already. It was nearly the foundations that my family gave me, my self-centeredness that was still there to a certain extent, and my newfound obsession with learning about the human mind created this perfect storm for me to go to college and really just do decades of work in the space of a few years. Like, I was that obsessed. It was like I switched addictions. And I met an incredible person in detox called Dr. Johanna Ivers. Myself and Anne actually met her 2 days ago as part of the whole addiction network system in Ireland at the moment, the framework that they're doing, the Arnie framework. But Johanna, when I thought I was brain damaged, Johanna came in to do a brain study while I was in detox, and she made an off the cuff comment that, God, you have a sharp mind. And I was like, maybe I can go back to college. Maybe I'm not even brain damaged if this doctor thinks I'm smart. So that set the tone for me to go back to college. And I think my love of neuroscience sort of started there while I was in detox, funnily enough, because I went into a brain scanner 2 days before my first day clean. When I'd done my PhD in the Institute of Neuroscience, I was able to get another scan of my brain. And when I say I changed my relationship with anxiety, you can actually see changes in my brain through neuroplastic changes over time, which was unbelievable. But what neuroscience teaches us about the brain, basically, fundamentally, there's lots of things going on. Like, we talk about addiction, and I think that's kind of one of the challenges that people face in terms of thinking about addiction. It's not about the addiction and the behavior that brings you into the addiction. It's about what precedes it and why people take drugs. So for me, it was trauma. So what was happening in my brain was a threat reflex system going from my brain down to the stress response system, the adrenal cortex, that was inflamed, that was hyper vigilant, and any other challenges in my life would just trigger that. So my brain and my body was changed around the trauma and those challenges that I faced. So obviously over time now, through recovery, I've calmed down that network within the brain, that mechanism within the brain. Like, I feel calm, I feel non-reactive today through practices. But that trauma center within the brain, like that part of the brain, is hooked up to many other elements of the brain. Your cognitive processing to calm it down, I couldn't do that. But it's also connected to the reward system of the brain. So if you're feeling that pain, and then all of a sudden you find something to soothe that pain, well, behavior that's rewarded is repeated. So dopamine is released, partly for the pleasure, but partly to motivate you and drive you to do it again, because the ego, or that self-preservation part of you, wants to survive and says, this feels good, makes you feel safer, do this again. So what happens over time, and I'm talking about my story a lot here, but let's say somebody that just starts drinking or doing cocaine, a few lines of coke, and they like it. That's the liking system of that reward pathway. But through repeated use, that can become a hook onto the wanting system in the reward pathway. And over time, that can become a pathological craving. And then that addiction itself can manifest trauma that people are trying to escape from. So it hijacks the reward system of the brain, creating more receptors where there's just this craving and pain that is trying to convince you in every which way to get these drugs. And I think what happens as well is, through addiction, you disconnect from people. And when you disconnect from people and you're isolated, even if you're in a room full of people, you're up in your own head and you feel isolated. So there's other elements of your brain kicking in. There's a lack of oxytocin. There's a buildup of a molecule called tachykinin that builds up and promotes paranoia, stress, anxiety, aggression. And that then fundamentally drives you away from other people as well. So there's multiple mechanisms around connection, addiction, and trauma within the brain that just interact with each other to create this perfect storm to keep people trapped in addiction. And that's fundamentally what's going on in your brain.
Absolutely fascinating. And you also chose to pursue a career in therapy, and you're about to go into your final year as a student psychotherapist. Congratulations. How have your lived experiences through supporting a family member through addiction shaped your own training, do you think?
It's been a journey. Like, it's definitely, I definitely went into my first year with a lot of imposter syndrome, thinking, you know, who am I to do this, or do I have enough experience? Am I well read enough? And that has been, that was kind of a big piece to get over. But, you know, the more I got in and I start kind of learning and, you know, realizing that this is where I've always meant to be, you know, and there's been different things along the way, like the lived experience through, like, my own issues with alcohol, like family addiction, going through treatment centres with Brian, and then we went through treatment with my brother James, and I, like, enjoyed the treatment centres, like, if that's able to say that, like, especially when James was in the Rutland.
You were good at it.
Yeah. I was good at the group therapy. And I always left feeling really well after it. And there was a comment made in Asherie in 2013 about one of the counsellors had said to me, like, you know, have you done this? Have you studied this? And I was like, no, never. And he's like, oh, you'd be good at it, you know. So there was the seeds kind of planted along the way. But yeah, I've been really enjoying it. And then I worked as a birth and postpartum doula for 5 years, and I had the privilege of sitting on the end of women's beds and, you know, in their most vulnerable moments. And that was the piece that I really enjoyed the most, and I got a lot of fulfillment from. So that's how it kind of translated, then kind of pushed me into.
Is addiction an area that you'd like to work in or pursue, do you think, or not?
Yeah, in ways, like, it depends on like the person that you're working with. Are they ready? Are they, are they committed? I could imagine it being can be quite difficult at times, if people are lying to you or, not kind of telling the truth. But I feel, due to the learned hypervigilance that I have from lived experience, I am quite good read at things like that. Now I know people in addiction are like master manipulators, but even through yourself, like, there was many times that I would have tripped you up on things like in an ashery and stuff as well. And, that I find that it's a skill that would be quite good, and would help me with people who are struggling with addiction. And then I'd love to work with the family members as well. So the people who, like the concerned people, the loved ones who are processing what's going on, whether that person is well or not well, to be able to help them. I think there'll be huge value in that for me as well.
Absolutely.
What role did forgiveness play in this whole journey that you've both been on?
God, it's been it's something that came kind of quick and fast as well for us. Like, as Brian has talked about, us being really, really close-knit as a family. Like, we've been really, really supportive of each other and there for each other. That like the forgiveness was earned as well. Like, it's definitely, we kind of joke about kind of how long like it took for for me to kind of not have resentment or anger towards Brian, and it used to probably nearly be seen as like a jealousy, but it was my own stuff where I'm like, people would be telling me how amazing he was, and been back in college, and he was after getting his his degree and his master's, and I was like, oh yeah, come live with him, like, and see how wonderful he is then, like, so yeah, I think like my own journey of forgiveness has been, it came quick, but it was also a slow process, if that makes sense. I'm not even sure how to describe that.
I think it's very complicated as well.
Yeah.
It's not really clean. Like, one of the things, like in ashery, like one of them says, Anne, do you want to be a therapist, or did you ever do therapy before? But in one sense, they wanted to bring me brother into it. Says, you need to come here, like, and there was a lot of addiction within the family as well. So I think my sort of addiction and recovery shone a light on the other problems and the mental health challenges within the family as well. So there's been a general healing between us all together, and a forgiveness within all of that. Like, even my mum and dad, like, as amazing as they have been, they made mistakes as well. So forgiveness in multiple different ways, and regrets and resentments, and it's hard to sort of put into a little bow like that, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, it's something that we've kind of all moved through together.
Continue to
still today. Like, because we're still learning. Like was for a long time there was like me and my kids and my husband, and then like Brian met Natalie, and then James has met Helen. So we have these new people in our lives, which is gorgeous. And it's something that, like, I'm the youngest, and I was, had my house and my kids, and I was married, and kind of the lads were kind of just getting stuff, kind of getting...
Ages are finally catching up.
Yeah. So there was kind of, it was like nearly a weird role reversal of like, like this is how you live, like, but it's so yeah.
We were even laughing on the way up in the car, though. It was gas. Like, we love going skiing. We're obsessed with skiing. We love it. We used to go in addiction, which is crazy. Like, I'd be on the slopes with my bottle of methadone in my back pocket, or backpack, and all crazy. But we went with my man and dad one year, and we stayed in this really posh hotel over in the slopes.
Hotel Jacobworth.
And we were like, all this crazy food. And we were like feral. We were like, even my mum and dad. I'd say they were looking for cues on us for how to act. Like, we just
5-star hotel.
We did not belong. There was this tomato with the peas, and we says, if we looked back and seen if there was a video of that, we'd say, oh my god,
it's just so fun. Just didn't belong. Like,
we're so posh. We love our fine dining.
Love a bit of fine dining.
Brian, you've become a bit of a poster boy for recovery, haven't you? You said something at the start about your family, and I think there is often a misconception with addiction that you come from a background of neglect or abuse or trauma. And parents often blame themselves when their children go into addiction, don't they? I'm just wondering what message you would have for somebody out there at the moment who is a parent or a sibling of somebody in addiction, and how they can, I suppose, help themselves to help the addict in their lives.
Yeah, and I think that is the key. You have to help yourself, because you can't help the a person struggling with addiction. There's nothing you can say, nothing you can do that will actually get them to change. Now, there's a bit of a lie with that as well. Like I worked with him on the documentary Dr. Gabor Mate, and I also done work with Dr. Anne Pennie. For me, the two best in class in the
That
world.
must have been such a pinch me moment.
Oh, and me proudest moment was that I remember saying to myself, right, this is a moment in time, you need to be present, and I'm able to bring myself back there. But there was something Gabor Mate said, because I often say, if you start telling people, if you have a loved one or someone in addiction and you tell them what to do, they'll just dig their heels in. The addiction will defend itself, and it will just be anger and aggression, and you're not going to get anywhere. You'll actually go backwards. So never tell them what to do. Now, I said to Gabor, I says, listening to people, he says, that's a bit passive. And he says, oh, that's not passive. And he calls it compassionate inquiry. So he calls it's an active process of you compassionately listening to somebody, and really so they feel seen and heard. And obviously you all know that better than me in terms of therapy and stuff like that. So that was really important. But I remember talking to Dr. Anna Lemke, and she gave something that I think is really important. And it was between the two of us, actually. She was talking about facilitating consequences, and I was saying facilitating safe consequences. So if you have a loved one that is going to lose their job because of their addiction, a lot of people will enable that behaviour and try to hide their addiction for their job and try to cover for them. You probably end up killing them. Like, they could end up killing them in the long run. So let them lose their job. It could save their life. Or if they wake up in the garden, or if they go asleep in the garden blacked out, don't bring them up to the bed so they wake up and think, oh, it mustn't have been that bad, I woke up in my bed. Leave them asleep in the garden unless it's freezing outside. Let them see the consequences of their addiction in a safe way. And I think that's one of the best things you can do. But fundamentally, what you said, Anthony, you've got to look after yourself. Like, you can't be giving advice, or you can't be there as the one guiding life for somebody if you haven't got your own house in order. So it's not selfish. Get your own house in order first, so you can be in the best possible position to be able to give advice to the loved ones and be there for them in the best way possible, to show up for them as best you can when they do need it.
What are you most proud of in each other?
Do you want to go first?
What am I most proud of? I'm most proud of that you're here. Like, that you kind of got out of it. There was a moment or two there where, we didn't think you'd be here anymore. So, and like the man you've kind of grown into, and, shown up for my two boys as well. Like, they absolutely adore you. Like it's and like that family, like being able to show up for your family, and kind of being able to rely on you again. Like, you were always somebody I could rely on when I was younger, and then we lost that. So, like, to be able I'm proud to say that I can rely on you again.
What's it like for you to hear her say that?
We've sort of had these conversations, and I do sort of know, but it's lovely to hear it. It reinforces, it reinforces the belief that I feel I am here for that. And what's to make me feel like, I don't know what the feeling actually is. I think there's a joy in it. There's like a lightness within it, like a bond, like a feeling of reinforcing what I already know, and we're strong. There's a strength in the family now, and it just feels really good. I'm struggling to put words on the feelings, to be quite honest. As well versed.
I know what you're saying though.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying. I'm like, I know there's a different energy to the whole family, like, like even with Kelvin and James and Mum and Dad, like everybody has really grown and kind of
and keeping an eye on each other. We're all chipping in and keeping an eye on each other, and just a reliance that will show up, that way, trust and a reliance that will show up for each other.
Yeah, and it's every year, like, like it's
some
like
of them still a bit of work to do.
Yeah. Like,
and what would you say to Anne and Brian?
I was thinking of that. Like, it's first of all, she is like the best mother, like unbelievable mother to her two kids. I think you're too hard on yourself sometimes, because you're like
huge question marks over
99%. There's no such thing as perfection, but you're the closest thing that's there, and it's absolutely unbelievable. In terms of her own challenges with mental health and other challenges, she's just come through that so well. But I think specifically in the last 2 or 3 years, it's just the strength that you're shown, like just the clarity of mind, and you're becoming a real force. I think that's how I'd best describe you. You're just becoming a force within yourself, and really just striving into the world and knowing yourself. And it's just really proud of that. And I feel a lot more solid around you as well when we have those interactions, and I'm just really proud of who you're becoming. But just really, as much as you love the two lads, you're becoming your own person, your own light and your own force, and I can just see you going into the world and doing incredible things. And obviously as a therapist, like the biggest hole in my game, I have the science, I have the lived experience, but I don't have the therapeutic skill set. And people often come to me saying, oh, I need help, someone else needs help, and Anne's going to sort of join my business as the therapeutic arm of that. And for me to not just be proud, but to be so reliant on Anne to be able to step into that void and do a phenomenal job of what I couldn't do. It's just it's like back to that strength thing. Like we're going to be in it together now, and we're forging ways together. We're going on holidays together, and just the bonds are just amazing. Like, you know.
I think it's fair to say, isn't it, Helen, that we're very proud of you as well.
Thank you.
As a student, like psychotherapist, we've been really impressed.
Yeah, it's been so lovely to be
You're
here.
with us since January now, I think, is it?
Yeah,
so almost 6 months. Guys, the last question for today is one that we ask everybody who comes onto the podcast, and that is, how do you mind yourself?
Do you want to go first?
I'll go first, and I do a lot to mind myself, and it's a lot of the, I won't say boring, they're the most important things. Like, I have a whole I'll talk on this. It's like there was no magic wand, just powerful tools we forget to employ in our lives. And for me, it's breathe, move, connect. I get a lot of exercise in. I use breath work techniques. There's a spiritual element of that there. I constantly have one eye on my own inner world, my feelings, my thoughts, and that was the spiritual shift that just stayed with me since I had that shift in perspective. Human connection is really important to me, but I'm gonna point out to something that I don't do as well as I want to do, and I think the forces of the world, everyone's struggling with this. It's saying no to things and creating space to do more of that stuff, to connect with myself, continue to connect with myself, and continue to connect with other people in my life. So something I realised recently was I'm saying yes to things for work or for this, that and the other, and it could be like, if I rated it on a scale, it'd be like, that's a 7 out of 10, that's an 8 out of 10. But what I realised, if I'm doing that, I'm saying no to a 10 out of 10. And it's really interesting. Like, it's like my family, they're 10 out of 10s. So if I'm saying yes to that, I'm saying no to them. So I'm really getting strict around saying no to things, because if I say yes to that, I'm saying no to something more important. So it's creating that space to give me the time to connect with myself and other people. That's the big one for me right now.
And yourself, Anne?
Yeah, so it's like definitely do daily breath work. It's something that I would kind of rely into a lot. But the main thing for me, I find that has really helped me the last maybe year and a half, would be strength work, like strength and conditioning training. Like it's been something that, like, every time you don't want to go, and then you get there and you leave feeling really, really filled up and strong and able to go back and kind of continue your day quite well. So like physically that's what I'd be doing to be minding myself now at the moment, and hopefully now getting a few more hikes in over the summer.
Hopefully this lovely weather
And
continues.
ski training.
Ski training.
Yeah, ski leg season starting.
Dr. Brian Pennie and Anne Pennie, thank you so much to both of you for coming on to the Mind Yourself podcast.
Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Anne. It's a privilege. It really was.
Thank you.
That is it for today's episode of Mind Yourself. If something in this conversation has resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it, because these are the conversations that matter. Don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the podcast, a quick rating or review really helps us to reach more people. So until next time, mind yourself.